Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Less Stress, More Peace and Happiness Summit. This summit is so important because dealing with stress these days is just something we cannot avoid. And so I honor you for taking the time, investing in yourself, and learning these skills. We have brought a panel of experts that's phenomenal. All 25 people are experts in their field, and everyone is bringing you a slightly different modality. So you're going to leave here with just a toolkit of all kinds of things that you can do to help reduce your stress and create more peace and calm in your life. So my name is Janine Wooten. I'm your host for the summit. And today's speaker that I'm going to introduce you to is Jason Demchok. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jason, and then we'll bring him on. So Jason Demchok is a seasoned system analyst and researcher specializing in optimizing health, streamlining businesses, and designing a lifestyle of freedom and efficiency. With a multicultural background from living in 16 countries and 2 decades of studying Buddhist and Western psychology, he brings a unique perspective to his work when helping others. Jason is well known for his Culinary Wisdom Whole Food Cooking Program, which is a practical approach to healthy eating. His clients benefit from his expertise in identifying inefficiencies and improving systems around not only their health, but their lives as a whole. Today, he's going to share with us how these skills can help reduce stress in all areas of our life. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Janine. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for participating. I'm glad to have you as one of our experts.
My pleasure.
And we are going to jump right in. Before we do, I'm going to give you the stage, and we're going to put up your title, Your Body as a System of Systems. And we're going to get to that. I'm going to have Jason explain what he means by a system of systems as the body there. But first, I want to start with Jason. If you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be where you are and doing this work that you're doing now.
Sure. So, I always loved science and the scientific method, and I studied psychology and biology, and I loved evolutionary theory. And that was what I did in college. And as I got toward the end, I started noticing from working in research, just the approach was very different from what I expected, like studying Freud and like the early psychologists. And that just, through a turn of events, I started listening to like Zen Buddhism and getting into Eastern approaches. And, I graduated, I lived in Japan for 2 years. I traveled Asia. And, I came back and I just was really unhappy with the research and coming to health. Like, I also had a lot of health issues. I wasn't eating well. I didn't, and go to the doctor and they would just say, they really wouldn't give you an answer. Like, take this steroid cream for this or take this pill for that. And I just intuitively felt there was more to it. And when I went to places like South America, I noticed that they were using herbs to like heal different things for stomach aches instead of just taking a drug. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. It tastes delicious. And they actually, and this is about 2004, people still thought it was like really weird to take a tea or an herb for like, for some ailment. And now the supplement industry is like going to be $1 trillion industry. Wow. So I was saying, okay, I want to get into this. Like, and all I really knew was Chinese medicine. But then I discovered Ayurveda, which is the Indian medicine, very similar to Chinese medicine. And I just dove in. I took a course with this guy, Dr. David Frawley. And what I loved right away about it was that it looks at your body as a system. Instead of like, going into the hundreds of enzymes in your liver, it's just looking at the overall condition, and it looks at symptoms. You're not trying to treat the symptom. The symptoms are clues of a deeper imbalance. So that was like the beginning of my journey. And then from there, I got into, the Eastern psychology, which was really my passion, and astrology. And what all these things have in common is in the ancient world and the Eastern world, they look at things as a system as opposed to just a bunch of things,
Right.
so so then I really, just dove into this, and I studied logic and causality, which is a big topic in Buddhism. So again, it's really the scientific method. Everything in my journey comes down to the scientific method. You look for evidence, you test the results, and you tweak it. You tweak one variable at a time. So that's just my approach to myself. So on my journey, I came across many different like ketogenic diet and all these different supplements that you can read about. And at one point I was taking like 50 supplements. I was I was doing like the ketogenic diet, eating a ton of fat, like being really obsessed with like the macronutrients, the fats, the proteins, and the carbs. And but I wasn't like, no matter what I tried, I really didn't feel like healthy, even though I'm obsessed with health, like I'm still having some gut issues. And that's when I met Dr. Lou, who I know is also going to be a speaker here.
Yes.
And she really showed me, one thing about systems is nature is the best system. It's like any system that imitates nature is going to be an efficient system. So our body is a system, right? And a system of systems. That's what the title is, right? So
So explain that.
Okay, yeah. So we have a digestive system, as we know. We have a circulatory system. We have a nervous system, and we have a hormone system. So our cells in our body are constantly dying, and new cells are arising. But so the cells always change. Your liver, like 7 years ago, and your liver now doesn't have any of the same cells in theory, right? But the system of the liver, the system of these digestive system, the system continues, right?
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a very different way of thinking. This is like an Eastern Buddhist way of thinking about things, but it turns out this is actually kind of how things really function,
Exactly.
So yeah, so your body. So I always knew as I on my health journey, you look at the body, the worst health approaches, in my opinion, are the ones that try to shut down the body's systems. When you take an anti-inflammatory, when you take like an ibuprofen, like you're reducing inflammation, you're shutting things down, but you're not. But you're just shutting down the symptoms.
Exactly.
You're not shutting down. You're not looking at the cause. So any approach of health that looks at the root causes, to me, was going to be better. So I discovered lifestyle medicine, which is about the food, but also about relationships and stress reduction. So I was introduced to that and environmental medicine from Dr. Lou. And basically, if I should just go on.
No, you're good.
Okay, so to make it really simple for everybody, what I learned from Dr. Lou was, the body is this amazing system, and it doesn't really need us to help it. But there's a couple of problems, and one of the problems is these toxins, which I'm going to talk much more about. But again, the system is running fine, and they want to blame our genes. They always trying to find something, but the system is running fine, and then these toxins interfere with the system. So you want to clear away the interference with the system. And then the hormone system, this has to do with stress, right? So the pituitary gland is like the master gland of the hormone system. So Dr. Lou also showed me, like, heal the pituitary, then you can affect the whole hormonal system. So instead of trying to target one gland, affect the whole system. So that's and that has to do with stress. That has a lot to do with stress.
Absolutely.
Our hormones are connected to stress. So
yeah, that was actually one of my questions. So you kind of already naturally led into that. So I was going to ask you to kind of just explain. I love how you describe the body as a system of systems, because I've never thought about it that way. And I also want to do just a little aside, and I mentioned it on one of the other interviews with someone else. But when my youngest son was little, little like infant. There were some health challenges that the doctors couldn't figure out, and it was really frightening. And so that's what he's 34 now, and he's very healthy now, thank God. But, getting to that point where your back's against the wall and you're searching, that's what put me on the alternate path, looking at natural medicine and alternative ways of being healthy. So I love that we're bringing this to people. I don't want people to get in that position before they start seeking solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that we're bringing this information right in a proactive way.
Unfortunately, most of the time, we only get interested when we hit the wall. But yeah, hopefully we can.
When you have the need, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just going to say then, I love the way you looked at it. I remember at that time feeling like, and I would say to everybody, like, I feel like everything we need is in nature, but the information has been lost over all the years. And I mean, this was 34 years ago. I was carrying my baby around like crying because I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I know that information's out there somewhere. I just didn't know where to find it, So I love it now that it's becoming people are becoming more aware and actually seeking natural ways. But yeah, you just said it perfectly. Like, nature is the perfect system. And so if we can get our bodies in balance with nature, then it makes sense that we would feel better. So how does all this tie into, you just mentioned that this all ties into reducing stress. So how would you help somebody along that path?
You could approach it two ways, right? Like, and I recommend both. There's like the meditation, taking walks, all those things, part of lifestyle medicine, the 6 pillars. That's all very effective. That's like approaching, the hormone system through the mind. But there's also the other way around too. In other words, when your body is inflamed and when you don't have the correct gut microbiome ecosystem, it's another system. And this is like what I really want to talk about too. This is a really important system, but I'll come back to it. But so when your body is not healthy, that also causes stress. So so you approach it from both sides.
I see.
Like, don't just do the meditation and the yoga, but then neglect your health. I see plenty of people doing that, but then there's people who take really good care of their health, and they're taking all these supplements and herbs that are great for the the stress reduction system, but they're living a stressful lifestyle. Right. So another thing I work with people's lifestyle as well. So I like to say, like, I optimize your health, and like you said in the beginning, and I use the same principles of system thinking to streamline a business, because your business is a system. And even your lifestyle, your goals are a system. So that's something that, someone can consult with me after. We're going to talk about the gift, but but to go back to the microbiome, so it was recently discovered that like 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut in our colon.
Wow.
So when we're eating, and they like fiber. So when we're feeding fiber to our gut microbiome, then they actually found the butyrate, which is what they produce, this amazingly healing, like sticky substance that heals your gut. So that's why when I switched to a high fiber, whole food, plant-based diet at Dr. Lou's recommendation, I tried it for 10 days. My gut felt better right away.
Wow.
But then they've found recently the butyrate actually travels into your brain. So there's there's evidence, and there's a serotonin aspect. So the antidepressant drugs are serotonin reuptake inhibitors. But if you have a healthy gut microbiome, you're actually making more serotonin within your gut.
Wow.
And there's people who will argue, does it come up and cross the blood-brain barrier? I think so. Yeah, I think yes. So being healthy, the short answer is being healthy. Again, Dr. Lou recommends like hormonal health, like heal the pituitary gland. Like, you might have heard of like people who have a lot of head injuries. They tend to have less control, emotional control.
Oh,
so Dr. Lou, so definitely fix the hormone. Like, it's like fix the hormones. Get rid of the toxins, because toxins will also, cause inflammation and affect your mental state. But also eat the right foods. And when I say the right foods, it's like we're always thinking about fats, carbs, and proteins, right? But I want to introduce 3 more concepts, or 4 more, which is vitamins and minerals, right?
Yes.
Because most people just look at food as like, is this carbs? Is this protein? Is this fat?
Right.
You know, I'm on a low fat diet. I'm on a low protein diet. I'm on a low carb diet. And that's it. But there's
Yeah, you're right.
also, there's like 80 minerals that we need. And there's
Wow.
like, I think 8 vitamins we need,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we got to think about vitamins and minerals. So people might know about that, but then go even further and talk about the fiber. Because now we know that the fiber feeds the microbiome. So we eat food. We eat a fruit like an apple. Yes, there's a little bit of fat. There's carbs. There's even protein in an apple. Your small intestine is going to absorb that, but then all of the fiber that doesn't get digested will feed the microbiome. So if you drink apple juice, that's not a whole food. It's vegan, right? But it's not a whole food, so you're not getting the fiber. So you're getting a meal, but your microbiome isn't getting a meal.
I see.
So to me, like that's another system. That's even a weirder system, the microbiome, because they're technically not part of our body. They live in this hollow tube in our gut, and we feed them. Like we're walking around, they don't have legs. We walk around, we eat the apple, we eat the broccoli, and then they get fed, and they let us know thank you by producing the serotonin and making us feel good.
Very interesting.
So it's like a system. It's another set of systems.
Yes.
And like they're a whole ecosystem. There's literally more microbiome in our gut than human cells in the rest of our body. So there's more of them. It's really crazy. It's really the whole thing.
It is.
But the point is, if you feed them well, they're going to reward you with good hormones and also a million other things. Good immune system. They're very connected to the immune system. Yeah. So
that's awesome. I mean, nature's it's just amazing, isn't it?
Oh, yes. And I left out one more important thing. So I said vitamins and minerals. I said fiber. Then the last category is called polyphenols or phytonutrients. And that's just a way of saying all the different colors of the foods. They all are, those colors come from a different, chemical, which, absorbs light, a different frequency of light. And it turns out those colors have the most outstanding health benefits.
Wow.
Like we all know about blueberries and like blackberries. I've been picking all these wild blackberries outside here.
Lovely.
So that color, that pigment also feeds the microbiome and also, gets into your blood and it sucks up the free radicals. And it's just amazing. Like, so
it is amazing.
Instead of thinking about just the fat, protein, and carb, it's all about eating all of the rainbow. So you can get red tomatoes, red peppers, so the red pepper and like the yellow pepper are going to have different chemicals. So it's beneficial to have a little bit of both and to put like all different colors into your diet. And there's the dark colored, like the blue and the purple, those are incredibly beneficial for your heart and your brain.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's so interesting that you said that. Like, it's kind of like we do know these things, but we forget. And so tuning in like that, like you just described it, really it makes me just remember how totally amazing nature is and how much balance.
Again, sorry to interrupt, but that's the benefit. That's why system thinking is so important, because we forget things. If we most people, and this is unfortunately the way our school system is set up, is to memorize facts. But when you learn a system, then every time you take in new data, new information, you could fit it into the system and you won't forget it. And then if you do, but then maybe you come across better information. And then when you have a system again, you could take out, it's easy to take out, some of your beliefs and put in the new and update it. But it's important to have a system.
Updated software in your
literally software. Yeah, because you could even look at it like, people say like, oh, I'm not religious. I'm an atheist, but you're religious about something, right? Because our mind works in terms of systems too. Our whole structure of beliefs is also a system. So everyone's got beliefs, everybody's got like superstitions, but when you are able to, again, have that system understanding, then it's not about belief. You don't have to, people always tell me like, oh, I believe you. I'm just going to eat what you tell me. I'm like, no, I don't want you to believe me. I want you to understand why it's
Understand.
important.
Yeah.
Because if you just believe me, then when someone else more charismatic comes around, you're going to just go and listen to what they say. I'm not I'm just explaining a system that I learned, and I've tweaked it based on some of my own experience, but it's pretty backed by science.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it does make total sense. And you're right. It does help you remember and just have a broader understanding. One other thing I wanted to interject when you were talking about the colors, I just think this is really interesting. My great grandmother, and I'm not young, I have grandkids. So my great grandmother, that was in the late 1800s, and it's passed down through all these generations that she used to say, as long as you have a lot of color on your plate, then you're eating well and you'll be healthy. Like, just put color on your plate. Isn't that interesting? So it's like, even without the science, kind of, people knew.
Absolutely. Because you just feel good when you see all those colors on your plate. And you actually do feel really good when you eat these colors, because again, it's reducing inflammation. Right. And it's so cool. The different colors like go to different parts of your body. So
that is interesting.
You don't have to know the science, just eat all the colors.
Right. Don't have to believe it, just do it, right? So this is really interesting. I was going to ask you if you could give somebody like an idea of, and people kind of know, when they're feeling off, but I was wondering if you could show us what a before and after looks like.
Of like working with the health aspect or the business aspect?
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to say too, I love how you talked about both. A lot of people focus on mindset, but not the body, the physical health, and a lot of people. So I love, incorporating both. But just somebody who's feeling a little off, and you don't have to tell the before.
Yeah. So okay.
You know what the before is, but what would it look like? What would they look like and feel like after making some of these changes? Getting the understanding, taking the steps.
Yeah. So, again, like I said, like the system thinking, I can, because I have the system understanding, and I can create many systems. So when I started learning about the whole food plant-based diet, I said to myself, okay, well, this is a system of information. Let me gather all of the parameters, So like the main categories, for example, are like beans and greens and fruits and whole grains. So I'm like, okay. So I took all of these parameters, and I also have a background in cooking for my whole life, right? So I studied in all these countries cooking. So I have a passion for cooking.
Nice. And
I said, okay, how can I take these rules of the system of whole food plant-based diet, which is, again, it has been shown by Dr. Dean Ornish to be the only diet that's been shown to reverse heart disease and diabetes. So I said, okay, let me follow his parameters, and also these other books I recommend called Mastering Diabetes and Fiber Fueled. So I read all these books. They all pretty much say the same thing. I took all those parameters and I said, how can I make the most efficient way of cooking for myself? So I needed to create a system, because we're all busy. So how can I make the most food, save money, make it delicious? Because again, like we all know, like when you're eating delicious food, you feel really good. It reduces stress. You're happy, right? That's the name of this conference. Yeah. So everybody loves food. So I make so many friends because of my food. I show up at the party with my food, and people all of a sudden want to talk to me more than anybody at the party. So it kind of feels weird, But
everybody's best friend.
Exactly. And like, so I came up with a way of making like a big batch of potatoes and sweet potatoes, a different bean every week, some fermented vegetables, which we didn't really talk about much, but that's incredibly important. And that's, again, you're making an ecosystem. You're making your own ecosystem in a jar. Whole grains, millet, salad dressings, different condiments. So I came up with a way to make it all like in 2 hours. Like if you're really good, you can make all of this food in 2 hours, and all of it like will cost you like $40.
Oh my gosh.
And you put it in the fridge, and now every day when you want to eat, you can heat it up. You could put it in a bowl, which I call the bliss bowl. You could throw all the ingredients in a bowl and just eat that bowl. I could do that every day, and I never get bored, because You know, you got all these different flavors and you got all the different colors. So
Nice.
I came up with that program. And since I started it like a little over a year ago, I maybe had like 20, 25 people go through the program.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, some people are better than others, but a great success story is someone who took it and now they're cooking for their whole family. They're loving their food. They used to have like get nervous in the kitchen. So that's part of what I do is get people over their fear of being in the kitchen. I hear so many stories from people,
Yeah.
you know, and just to bring this up, like, you know, when I was growing up, like the big, like, you know, heated thing was like women belong in the kitchen. And
Right.
like,
Right.
and the women would say, no, women don't belong in the kitchen. So I feel like so many women, right? Like they think the kitchen is like equals oppression, you know? So they don't want to learn to be in the kitchen. So men started cooking, but overall I see most people just ordering out.
Exactly.
So when you can learn to cook for yourself, like you're going to save a ton of money. You're going to be, if you follow this whole food plant-based program I created, you're going to be feeding the microbiome. So this client, they're feeding their family. They're feeling better than ever. They're loving their food.
That's awesome.
Saving time and money,
Yeah.
having fun, being able to show up at a party with food. You know, like everybody, you know, it's like a lot of potlucks are popular now.
Right.
So
Right.
you show up with something delicious that instead of just coming with like a bag of chips. So,
Right. Right.
so I have a lot of stories like that, and you know, it's going to take time to see like the health benefits come in, but you know, like, but I want people who really like when people approach me about learning my food program, the first thing I try to do is tell them like, look, if you want just recipes, go on Google, it's free, you know, but this is a whole system of creating food and eating that's based on health. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. It's I love that it's all encompassing, and I didn't even think about the money that you save. That's incredible that you can do all of your cooking in 2 hours for that much money. We went to, and what will that feed you for like a week? You said so you do that kind of weekly,
like
depending how much you prepare, I guess.
Pretty much like twice a week.
Okay.
But I also cook for tons of people. But like, for example, like all the prices of food has gone up. Everybody notices it, right? But the food I buy really hasn't gone up that much. So for example, like
Interesting.
you can go to like Whole Foods even, which is not known for being really inexpensive, but you can get a pound of black organic beans, which, you know, they have all the protein that meat does, but they also have a ton of fiber. Meat has no fiber. So you're getting, everybody's worried about protein. You're getting the protein and you're getting a ton of fiber, and you're paying $1.99 a pound, and that's dried, right?
Right.
Then when you cook it, it becomes bigger. So, so yeah, you're
yeah, that's a great point about the money saved, because some people will do it. You know, that's a good initiative, or a good incentive is the word I'm looking for. A good incentive to try it. We went to lunch, and we eat out too much. You know, for convenience, we're running around and we pop in somewhere and grab something to eat. And I would say it used to be maybe $30 for a lunch for two, 33 or something. It's like 45 or 50, sometimes 60. We had lunch the other day somewhere, it was $70 with the tip for 2 lunches, you know, and you got to wonder, it can't be that healthy. I mean, it was delicious, but I'm sure it was tons of fat and not quality food. But anyway, so yeah.
Well, that's my whole point. Like I have such an issue. I know this guy, Dave Ramsey's, he's like, he gives talks, and him and I agree, like eating out is the biggest waste of money you can do.
Absolutely.
You're not, as you said, you're not even getting good quality food. So it's like, make food, go have a picnic somewhere, you know, go to a public park, and you could still, I recommend being social, but as Americans, like our whole idea of being social is always at a restaurant for some reason.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
It's
you're
like,
right.
go eat, invite the person over for food, and then go out dancing, or go for a walk together. Go on a
That's a great idea. I love it. I love it. Much better. So could you give people, this is fascinating and always inspiring. So I love talking to you on this, and we'll have to follow up. But if you could give people a couple of simple action steps that they can do at home just to get started, something, simple and easy so that it's not overwhelming. I know they're going to want to follow up and learn more, but what's a simple starting point?
Yeah, I'm just going to say two things, and these are super simple and inexpensive. It's eat more fruit. So eat an apple a day, and eat more beans.
Okay.
So again, as Americans, for whatever reason, Americans don't eat beans. It's the funniest thing. It's like one of the most eaten foods in the whole world, and super healthy. And there's so many different types of beans. I kind of have a joke that the chickpeas are like your chicken, and like the black beans are your beef or something, and kidney beans are your kidneys. So it's like,
that's funny.
Just instead of one day, instead of making a steak, Americans have gotten into this habit, which all started after World War II. Eating a steak was a once a week thing. Now people are doing the carnivore diet where they eat nothing but meat all day long, and like egg for breakfast. Every single meal has to have tons of high fat animal products. So just swap it out for some beans. Even once a week, and see how you feel, because beans because they have so much fiber, an hour after you eat beans, you just feel really nice. You feel nice and light. Whereas if you eat a steak, it's sitting in your digestive system.
So heavy. Yeah, for sure.
So
besides beans, what are two more things that people could eat that will give them fiber?
Oh yeah, like fruits and beans. And then green.
What about potatoes?
Oh yeah, right. Potatoes, again, this is the most demonized food in the world, right? It's just nothing but carbs.
Right, but they're so delicious.
but actually they're high in protein, they're high in vitamins.
Okay.
They're actually one of the healthiest foods, potatoes. I eat them all the time. Sweet potatoes also. Sweet potatoes are different, but they're also very good. Potatoes have fiber. So the only problem with potatoes is if you put a ton of butter, and sour cream on it, and cheese, that's when you have a problem. But if you keep, this is what the book Mastering Diabetes talks about.
Okay.
I won't get too into it now, but the idea is carbs only become a problem when you're eating too much fat. If you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, your fat is going to be much lower. And because of that, your body will be able to handle the carbs, like the potato carbs, very efficiently. But one more thing that's really exciting about carbs, about potatoes especially. So if you take potatoes and cook them and cool them off, in the refrigerator, which is what you do in my program, because you're making 3 pounds of potatoes and then you're putting it in the fridge. So what happens is there's an enzyme reaction that causes up to 30% of the carbs to turn into something called resistant starches. And that happens with rice, it happens with potatoes. And what that means is 30% of the calories disappears, and instead you get more fiber. So if you cook potatoes, they're still okay to eat hot, but if you cook them and then cool them off, and then you eat them the next day or the next day, you're getting 30% less calories, carbohydrates, and 30% more fiber. So it's an amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That is great to know.
You can look it up. It's called resistant starch. Just type in resistant
perfect.
Starch potatoes, and it'll explain it.
Yeah, this is so interesting. So I love the big picture and how it reduces stress and how it ties into the body, both the mind and the physical body. So we've talked about not a lot of people on the summit. We've had a lot of people share how to reduce stress, and a couple of great speakers on the how to increase happiness side. But I think I just kind of want to close with yours encompasses both, because great food can certainly make you happy, can it?
Absolutely. No, it's I mean, it's just, even though I know all the science and the benefits, when I make my beans and I put the tahini dressing, and I made the spicy black sesame seed tahini kind of sauce, and you eat it, it's just amazing. It feels so good. I enjoy it every day. I enjoy this way of eating more than anything.
Sounds amazing. I'll have to get the recipe from you.
Yeah, definitely.
So I always hate to have to bring our talks to a close. but this has been such great information and so much fun. I was wondering if you could tell people about the gift that you have for them. I'm going to put your title up and tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay. So conscious karma consultation. Yeah. So that's just, I talked about the system thinking, but karma really just means cause and effect. It just means the scientific method. So that's just my approach to everything, being conscious about the karma we're doing. So I like to, I have my food program. So some of your listeners might be like, I want to do your food program. So get on a call with me. We could schedule something, 20 minutes. I could tell you about the food. And I could even customize the food program to how you want it. But beyond just the food program, what I love to do is just get to know a person. A person is a system, and there's no system. Everyone's system is different. Right. So I like to hear where people are at and what they want, and then ask them, find out what's not working, and then use the system approach to figure out how we can tweak that. And a lot of what I do is budgeting and time management, a lot of like the actual nitty-gritty stuff. But it all starts with really the idea that we're meant for happiness, right? We're meant for bliss. I call it the wheel of bliss. Like, if you just, most people have like very low expectations. They're like, oh, I just want to get a good job. And I think that if you speak to a conscious karma consultant like myself, we could find a strategy, a blueprint that of it might be your whole life. I want the whole picture. I want a whole new life. I want to leave my job. I want to start a business, or maybe just your business. You want to align your business and your lifestyle better. All of that stuff. We can get on a call, and I'll get to know you, and I can show you what I'm about. And I'll be honest, if I don't think I can help you, I have a ton of amazing people in my life that I'd be happy to introduce you.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. And I know people are going to love that. So thank you so much. That's so generous. I'm going to bring you on and say this has been just really informative and really fun. And actually, you made me hungry.
Me too. And I'm going to have some food.
Make some great food, and I'm going to keep in mind about this system of systems too, and start thinking about things in that way. So, Jason, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your knowledge, and thank you for being willing to share with everybody. We really appreciate it.
I had a great time. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
That's awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.